Naruto and Jujutsu Kaisen are two series that are compared a lot with each other, and for good reason. They have a lot of similarities in themes and tropes of the shonen genre that I think are analyzed and compared to a strong degree. Even though the series writer, Gege Akutami, has stated on numerous occasions that he gets more inspiration from Hunter x Hunter and Bleach, it is obvious to see the similarities and compare and contrast the storytelling of Jujutsu Kaisen and Naruto. And that is not more obvious than in the power systems of Chakra and Cursed Energy. Chakra from Naruto and Cursed Energy from Jujutsu Kaisen follow the energy-based power systems. That is, a general life force that the characters can tap into in order to gain their power. Whichever ones you think are better well written is really up to personal preference, but for me, I sorta think both of them have their nuances that make them such incredible and memorable power systems. Let's start off with Chakra. Now, Chakra is not only the magic of Naruto, it's also the life force of it. Unlike Jujutsu Kaisen, if a person runs out of Chakra, they will actually die in the series instead of just, be out of power. And likewise, because of this, it feels way more intimate and personal than your usual power system. Chakra is used in almost every aspect of Naruto's world building and storytelling, from cooking to healing to basically everything, really. And I feel as though that's what makes it such a unique power system in the first place. The fact that it's so interwoven into the narrative and storytelling. Unlike Ki or Hamon, for example, which I feel are just more like generic energy power things. On to the details itself, Naruto's power system draws a lot on different mythologies, specifically from Asian and Hindu cultures. You can see this in techniques like Susanoo, Tsukuyomi, the Rinnegan, which is literally based off of the Samsara cycle from Hindu mythology. Yeah, Kishimoto wasn't subtle with his symbolism, that's for sure. And because of this, I feel like Chakra feels like a more unique and creative application of using mythos and mythology to base your world's power system off of. Of course, the Chakra itself isn't the only thing Naruto's power system has in it. It's divided up into the three applications of Chakra, which include Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, and Genjutsu, with Ninjutsu essentially being the generic magic the characters use, Taijutsu explaining all of the hand-to-hand combat scenes, and Genjutsu working kinda like Jedi mind tricks, only way cooler. And I think I should mention how the more detailed your power system is, the more intricate you make the details and rules for it, the more memorable and interesting it becomes. One of the main reasons why Chakra stands out so well as a power system is just because of the massive amount of ways someone can become powerful in it. You have the Uchiha clan, which are basically just like gods among shinobi, with all their insane hacks like the Sharingan, the Mangekyo Sharingan, Susanoo, and all that jazz. But you also have other things like Sage Mode, where you take in natural energy and mix it with your physical and spiritual energy and make a unique chakra that basically gives you superhuman strength, speed, and reflexes. There's just so many cool ways to become a powerful shinobi in Naruto, which I feel is what makes it so special. The different kind of releases, that being earth, wind, fire, lightning, and water, create a really cool dichotomy of the 5 main elements that are associated with magic, while also even expanding on that with the mixtures that you can combine, such as earth and water creating wood style, or thunder and wind creating explosive style. Even within these styles, you have weaknesses kind of mimicking like the Pokemon battle system, where earth is actually weak to lightning. That makes no sense. Or obviously, wind powers up fire techniques, but water puts out the fire techniques. Even within those enclosed spaces, you have things such as unique clan techniques like the Chikamaru clan's Shadow Possession Jutsu, or the Body Expansion Jutsu from the Choji clan. Even the Kekkei Genkai, which are unique combinations of 2 different releases, which create stuff like Ice Release, Scorch Release, I wish this one would have been used more, and the super underrated character Kimimaru's Shikotsu Miyaku, which is basically a bone technique that allows you to pull your spine out and use it as a whip. If that's not the most raw thing you've ever seen, I don't know what else to tell you. And I can go on and on about how badass Naruto's power system is, from puppets to meteorites to Sage of Six Paths mode, yada yada yada. There are whole YouTube channels dedicated to just explaining how in depth this system goes, and I'm all for it, man. Having whole communities dissect and intricately detail and analyze the world's power system as if it was a college course It's just like one of the beauties of the world. And I think it's one of the aspects that puts Naruto's chakra above cursed energy, is just the amount of detail and amount of range and depth that the system has. Not to knock cursed energy, because I believe that cursed energy is far more well-written system in terms of its consistency and nuance. Unlike in Naruto, cursed energy is formed from the negative emotions of people all around. Unfortunately, regular people can't control their cursed energy, which leads to cursed spirits being around, which are basically just creatures formed entirely from negative human emotions, usually sprouting from fears, kind of like Chainsaw Man, except Jujutsu Kaisen did it first, hahaha. These cursed spirits are naturally antagonistic towards humans due to their negative nature, and it's up to Jujutsu sorcerers to take them out for the rest of humanity. This creates an interesting dynamic where the actual enemy of the people are, well, the people themselves, since they can't really control their cursed energy and thus stop the curse problem. Because of this, you have whole villains like Suguru Geto who base their whole ideology off of this phenomenon. He's a villain who wants to eradicate all non-sorcerers specifically because they cause the curse problem. And I think this nuance is what sets Jujutsu Kaisen's power system different from other ones. Cursed energy is not only the main magical source for sorcerers, it's also the source of main conflict, where in Naruto, chakra was the source of conflict, only insofar as it allows characters to fight each other. Cursed energy is literally the reason for why all the problems in the story happen. It is simultaneously a solution to the problems and the cause of them, and that is one reason why I think that cursed energy is better written on average than chakra. And in general, I feel like these nuances and complexities are what set Jujutsu Kaisen's cursed energy away from chakra just enough to make it more interesting in my opinion. For instance, you have the coveted domain expansion. Now, the concept of the domain expansion isn't really new to anime or magic systems in general. The idea that a single person can manipulate a space or field and cover their energy source within that field in order to gain an advantage? Come on, we all imagined that as a kid. But Jujutsu Kaisen takes that simple concept and transforms it into a pretty nifty narrative device where the inner domains of sorcerers represent the inner domains of their mind, their space, their mental frameworks. All humans have their own domain, but only the strongest sorcerers are able to manipulate their will onto others in the form of a domain expansion. It's literally a physical representation of them using their power to influence others, and thus the more refined domain, or in other words, the more refined ideology, the more refined confidence you have in your own power, wins at the end of the day. It's a power technique that works both narratively and of course provides a lot of spectacle. That's another thing I neglected to mention. Power systems are at its best where you make the audience want to mimic or copy the movements that the characters use to engage with it. What I mean by this is that if you get people to copy the techniques outside of watching the anime, for example, people doing hand signs in more general context and conversation with your friends, that's a surefire sign that you've made an excellent power system. I'll plan to go into more detail about that when I do my general power systems video. But back onto cursed energy, what it lacks in depth and versatility, it makes up for in adaptability and consistency. For instance, you have the coveted curse techniques. As brilliantly explained by Satoru Gojo, the strongest sorcerer in the story, cursed energy, when used raw, is more chaotic and disperses crazily, like the example of the can bursting. But more focused and specially applied instances of cursed energy are like electrical appliances that do specific functions, like in the example of the can twisting in a specific rotational pattern. This smartly allows Gege Akutami to write versatile power sets, but while still maintaining the idea that cursed energy is an energy that more people can generally use. Also, I like the idea that it's not afraid to shy away from implicating that to be powerful in Jujutsu Kaisen, you kinda have to be born lucky in order to become a powerful sorcerer. See, in Naruto, it initially seems like anyone can become a powerful shinobi with enough hard work and determination, and while that isn't the actual themes of the story, it is kind of sad to realize that most of the powerful characters in Naruto have a certain pattern to them that reoccur in the narrative. But in Jujutsu Kaisen, with cursed energy, it is not only made immediately aware, it's also a focal point of the themes of the story. In this line, which people don't really know how to interpret, are you the strongest because you're Gojo Satoru, or are you Gojo Satoru because you are the strongest? What I interpret this line is a way of Gege saying, did Gojo become the strongest because he worked hard for it, or was it something he was always destined to be because cursed energy blessed him? In a way, it's like saying the most powerful characters in Jujutsu Kaisen were simply born lucky, and ironically, they were blessed by cursed energy. I'm starting to ramble on, but you get my point. The narrative implications of cursed energy, or the make up for their lack in versatility and uniform way of becoming powerful. And make no mistake, cursed energy is also a deep power system. You have your heavenly restrictions, your black flashes, the aforementioned domain expansions, and many other techniques like binding vows and reverse curse techniques. Limitless, as a curse technique in general, being Satoru Gojo's, are so intricate and well thought out, you can make a whole video course on just explaining this dude's superpowers essentially. And I'm all for it, man. The heavy use of mathematics in explaining Jujutsu Kaisen's power system makes it not only really fun for tech nerds like me, but it also implies the amount of research and care that Gege really put into designing this intricate system. Because of all this, Gege's cursed energy feels a lot more nuanced and mature than Chakra, if you get what I'm saying. The system itself is written in such a way to feel more poetic and divine than most other power systems, and because of that, Jujutsu Kaisen's fights, especially the more complex ones, are able to have that same strategic depth and satisfaction that people loved so dearly in the early days of Naruto. Overall, Chakra and Cursed Energy are both S-class power systems that go on to define the entire story they're part of. If I had to choose a favorite system, I would say slightly, and only slightly, choose Chakra over Cursed Energy, as I believe it's more fun to imitate, and it just allows for so much more variety and choices to choose from. Plus, Sage Mode is my favorite power-up in any anime ever. With all that being said, tell me what your favorite one is of the two, Cursed Energy or Chakra. I would love to hear the different interpretations and nuances of y'all answers, because, let's be honest, this is really just a cool factor test and which power system you think is the coolest. For me, domain expansions and Sage Mode are the two best techniques from each power system. Also be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as tell me what other power systems you want me to compare in the future, as I feel like these analytical kind of videos are more fun for me to make generally.